First off, let's talk about web authentication uses. Now, these are definitely authentication methods, right? Web authentication is on this side, but it's going to be some of our focus. So keep that right side of the screen at the top of your mind. Excuse me. So first things first, let's talk about 802.1x. We have had lessons about that. We know a lot about how those certificates are exchanged, basically using keys and how those keys provide us with encryption and privacy. So we know that 802.1x is the best method for security. It provides us with a way to ensure that Joe is really Joe, and Joe has access to these things on our network, and Joe has the ability to go online, and we can account for Joe. We can audit where Joe's been. We know Joe is Joe. That is the best security method, using 802.1x and a radius server and all the goodies like we talked about. This is the best. Okay? And for most of our enterprises, this is what we want to use. But what if I have a piece of equipment that doesn't fall within the 802.1x category? What if I have a device that is unable to do 802.1x authentication? Well, I have Mac-based authentication bypass. This is great, not the best, because as we know, people can spoof different types of MAC addresses, and it's just not the best at all. But it's a way to bring devices onto your network that can't do 802.1x authentication. Now, last but not least, we have web authentication. Now, web authentication is basically for guest access, and that's going to be our focus here. We want our guests to have access in our organization. So this is really where it shines, is this guest access. Now, sometimes we use it when we can't perform or pass 802.1x frames. We can use this this web authentication. We can also use it as a backup in case 802.1x fails. In case that authentication method has failures, and trust me, if you're in a large organization that uses your radius server for a lot of authentication, a lot of things, when that fails, it's a pretty big deal. So sometimes we can use backup methods such as web authentication in case 802.1x fails. But what I really, really, really want you to pay attention to is our guest access. That's the goal, really what we would use our web authentication for.